Hey everybody, John Greenwald here with theblackvault.com. I wanted to profile a document that I posted actually a little while ago, but just this week got a lot more attention, and that was thanks to Vice News, who decided to publish this article. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I'll link to it in the show notes below. Read NASA's internal discussion of UFOs in newly released documents. Again, this was published by Vice News. Becky Ferreira, hopefully I have that pronounced correctly, thanks to journalist Becky, who did a great job of kind of breaking down new documents that I had posted. What was very cool, which some journalists don't do, was they actually placed proper credit to the Black Vault and linked over to the material. So if you do read the article, she does a great job citing back where she got all of her material, and she just did straightforward reporting, which is pretty rare nowadays since most people embellish headlines and so on and so forth. So she did a great job. So I just wanted to take a moment to really recognize that. But further, she actually had not only embedded my announcement there on Twitter, but had talked about a document that, again, I had posted a little while ago that really didn't get a whole lot of play, and I'm surprised at that. Not necessarily national media attention like Vice News just gave this, but rather through the UFO community, and here's why. Before I get into it, I want to preface it with this very quickly, is that I have had an ongoing case, a FOIA case with NASA going after internal communications. I've done 4 different releases of information, passing that on to you guys from NASA. So they've done 4 different releases. And this case is, I've made reference to it before on this channel, about a $400 price tag. So there are thousands of internal communications, all emails, but in those emails are attachments like PowerPoint presentations, slides, graphics, stuff like that, and some of which I've highlighted already, but I haven't done a big breakdown. The reason is it's not over yet. But I wanted to create this video because I'm getting a lot of questions on it now that Vice News profiled it. So first things first, here is the database that you guys can already access. This as well will be in the show notes below. This is what I call kind of a fluid page. This will just keep morphing until the case is done. I first published it months ago, and as new releases come out, they're called rolling releases in FOIA lingo. NASA sends that to me, and I in turn update this page. So going through, you can see what I've done is compiled not only the case that I've been breaking down right now, but multiple cases that kind of pertain to NASA's internal communications. I break it down by FOIA case number. Again, those are for all you that love to verify what I put out there, not a problem. I put the case numbers for you to do just that. And you can see here I link to the files where you can just download and read to your heart's content. Let me go back. The particular case that I am talking about is this here. You can see I've posted 4 different releases. The first one was more just an acknowledgement of the request. There was nothing released. But 2, 3, and 4 has yielded hundreds of pages, and there are many more to come. What I had profiled, and not to beat that dead horse, surprised that it didn't get a lot more banter about it on social media, is this document here. It was an event that was held on October 6, 2020. It was a virtual event, given the time frame. We were kind of in the heart of COVID there. Extreme Acceleration by UAPs. That was the event name. Now, when you quickly look at it, I thought that it was a SCU event. They're the Scientific Coalition for UFO Studies, or UAP studies, I should say. And I just thought that given the name, Robert Powell was involved, that this was an event by that organization, as he is one of the founders, I believe, of SCU. But in reality, it actually had nothing to do with SCU. And on top of that, had discovered that no one had ever heard of this event before. This seemingly was a very private event. And we'll get into what the quotes were here in a minute. But when you read it, let me zoom in here for you. You'll see it was from Michael Gold. He was from NASA. I've talked about him on this channel before. Hey, Randy, I just got this, but FYI, if you're interested in attending, Randy Cruz was also internal NASA. So this is NASA to NASA. The invitation itself was from a Richard Coleman or Rich Coleman sent to Michael Gold. And then again, Gold passed it on to Randy Cruz. Please join us on Tuesday, October 6th from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern for an Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Association virtual event with Robert Powell, Executive Board Member of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, or SCU. We will be joined by Chris Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, who will be delivering introductory remarks. During our session, Robert will be discussing extreme acceleration by UAPs and sensors for detection. He will also be exploring a few relevant cases, including Stephenville and Puerto Rico. Robert has been an important leader for some years now, among those seeking to bring these scientific expertise and processes to bear on the UAP phenomenon. All our friends in propulsion will not want to miss this one. And then it gives some more details. There was some, obviously, some redactions here. This was likely just more personally identifying information. Exemption B2, you don't see that much. So I was a little surprised there, but it just may have meant kind of nothing here. Please RSVP. The second page of the email, as it was printed, gives a bio of not only Robert Powell, but Christopher Mellon, who was going to attend. So as I started digging and I realized, again, this was not a public event, I reached out to Robert Powell and Christopher Mellon. Now, let me scroll down here to make sure that I quote everybody correctly. So when I spoke to Robert Powell and I sent him a couple questions about it, he confirmed that it was not a public event. He was also a little surprised that I was able to discover this through FOIA. He didn't elaborate on that surprise, but that was kind of the impression that I got. He says, and I quote, "There were 41 people at the presentation," unquote, but he did decline to name any who was there and whether or not they were from a government installation, facility, agency, military, NASA, wherever they may have been from. He declined to comment on any of that. He just gave the number, and then here's another quote from my discussion with him. They, quote, "were not from the world of ufology," unquote. So essentially what he was saying here was this was not a MUFON attended event and people that we would recognize, but rather, I feel anyway, kind of hinting that, hey, this was probably government or military personnel who attended, and obviously very kind of small group of people. I also reached out to Christopher Mellon. Now, to my surprise here, I was not told by Robert Powell that Christopher Mellon did not attend. I did ask a follow-up, but according to Christopher Mellon, he said, quote, "plans changed." So he didn't go. So despite the invitation, Christopher Mellon, I guess, was a no-show. Again, I had reached out follow-ups with Robert Powell, and respectfully, he did not comment on whether or not he was there or not. And I understand that he just did not want to reveal identities. There's nothing, in my opinion, secretive about that or sinister, in case some of you are going, well, why wouldn't he comment on that? I think it was just simply out of respect for who was and was not there, just did not want to give identities, and that was fine. But Christopher Mellon said plans changed, insinuating that he did not attend the event. But what was interesting was he went out of his way to call the document that I had sent him, the one I just read to you, a, quote, "nothing burger." I'm not really sure why he would say that, just simply because I wasn't really making a big deal out of it, other than I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. Internally, NASA was interested in this UAP acceleration event and potentially attending, and it wasn't really known by the public at all. And so the fact that he kind of went out of his way for that surprised me a little bit. I did send some follow-ups, sadly never heard back from Mr. Mellon, but at least I was able to get that and give a little bit of idea that he really didn't care about this at all, which was interesting. So that said, just kind of reading through here, I had asked NASA as well. I'd reached out to NASA because this was one of their documents. It was obtained legally through the Freedom of Information Act, and asked about Mike Gold and Randy Cruz. And the director of the of NASA overall was James Bridenstine. and he was the director. And Randy Cruz, I believe, was his kind of top administrative aide. And I tried to get some kind of indication on whether or not NASA attended this event, either officially or unofficially, and they would not answer. They told me that I would have to reach out to Gold, Cruz, and Bridenstine directly, simply because they no longer worked for NASA. I was surprised at that, because generally, even though they don't work for NASA, they can still comment on their work with NASA. So again, that was a little confusing to me, but they wouldn't. I did find ways to reach out to them. Sadly, did not get any comment back for the time of publishing this article, but also now. Of course, I'll do follow-ups and stuff as the weeks and months progress, but they were unreachable to comment on this. So there you have it. That's kind of the attention that Vice News brought to this, which was great. I really welcomed it, because this should be part of the conversation. It shows that NASA, I don't want to say secretly, like classified secret, but rather without public knowledge, was looking into these UAP events. They were being invited to them that were outside of the government realm, and considering attending. A quick final note: the organization that did this presentation, this virtual event, was called Space Transportation Association, or STA. That is run by Richard Coleman along with Alexandra Hale. When I wrote this, there was no contact information available on the website. I had later found an email address and reached out, but never heard back. So I didn't get any comment or anything like that. There's not a whole lot known about that organization that did this event. It seems like it's pretty hush-hush, that it's more, as Robert Powell kind of insinuated, more of an invitation-only type event, this particular one. So my guess is that's kind of how they operate. So not government. It was not put on by the government or military, but rather got NASA's interest. So there you have it. There's a quick breakdown of the document. And thanks again to Vice News for seeing my post and Twitter announcement on yet another drop. And they decided to do a story on it. I woke up to it. I had no idea. They didn't contact me, which was fine, not a problem. But I learned about their article when all of you did, which is always kind of a pleasant surprise, and a welcome one at that. So thanks again to them. Thank you all for listening and watching.